Great day, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the Strategic Possibilities Show, where we discuss success and growth to help you launch potential in your personal and professional life. My name is Emmett Ferguson, and I am your host. Hey, everybody! Today I am here with an awesome guest. His name is Adam Coulon, and he is the Chief Technology Officer of a travel company. It's a tech company called WiGoTrips. And Adam, could you share a little bit about WiGo and what it's all about?
Yeah, totally. First, I want to just say thank you for having me on your podcast. Just taking the time out of your day to listen to our story. Really appreciate it.
Totally grateful to have you on here too.
Yeah. So let me tell you a little bit about WiGo. So kind of at its core, WiGo is a connection platform, and it connects its members using travel, essentially. Kind of effectively, it is also kind of a double-sided marketplace for group trips and group vacations. And we've kind of included a lot of like connection algorithms to really pair people that would have a good time traveling each other and then find like the vacation experience that really matches them too.
Awesome. So it's primarily a technology that's helping to aid in group travel, correct?
Yeah, that was kind of what we started with. We realized that, like me and Jackie McCarthy, the co-founder, we both kind of like traveling on our own, but really had a great time traveling in groups. Jackie in the past has actually had some experience putting together travel packages for the fashion industry, where she would do kind of like an on-site photo shoot, different destinations, kind of like Paris was one of them, and kind of along with that they would like go see the city, go have dinner at nice places. And she kind of charged a premium for it and realized that, like, hey, there's a business model kind of surrounding this. So she did a lot of research, looked into a lot of different markets, realized that millennials are spending a ton of money on group trips and group travel, and kind of decided to target and go after this.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like an amazing niche. Or would you call it a niche, or would you call it like something else?
I would call it a niche, actually. There's not quite another product out there like us. However, there's a lot of different people are kind of circling around the same idea. For example, like Airbnb recently came out with what they call the experiences. So if you stay in an Airbnb location, you can then like look up different cool things to do that other people have posted. However, like after talking to people and kind of looking at them myself, they kind of like lack the soul of it. It's kind of like these random one-offs that actually like aren't really too exciting. You might pay like $50 to go to someone's roof in New York City to like take a selfie with the city behind you, something like that. So it really kind of lacked like the complete trip experience in our opinion. So that's something that we really hope to capture with how we run our trips through the app.
I hear that. And earlier you were talking about the story of, how Jackie was, she was doing trips for the fashion industry and how that came together. What about your story and, what made you passionate about doing or getting involved with a tech company like WiGo?
Totally. So like many people, it's been kind of a progression. When I was younger, I went to school to become an engineer, and I watched Discovery Channel quite a bit and fell in love with kind of space. So kind of set my target to be an aerospace engineer. And so I went through school with that undergrad. When I was in school, I really felt a passion to travel and kind of experience other countries. So I would seek out research opportunities in different countries and exchange programs where I could kind of interact with all the people there, as well as participate in the scientific community too. So that was a really neat parallel. So I did that for like through my undergrad and then into my grad school career. I ended up living in Japan for 1 year, South Korea for 6 months, and then Germany for 6 months too. And kind of after that, another friend of mine was getting into programming a lot. He was a chemical engineer, but just kind of like made the leap into software development and said, Adam, you got to get this crazy new world, this new industry. It's like fast moving, like you're going to be good at it. You should give that a try. And so I gave it lots of thought and it kind of clicked. I was in grad school and I found out that I was writing more software to support the lab I was in instead of actually working on my thesis. And I was okay with it. I enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed the puzzles that it was. And I just kind of decided that, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to do for my career. Just fascinated by the whole thing. The whole community surrounding software development was amazing. There's people from like all over the country, all over the world, different countries, just helping each other out on the internet. So I thought that was a cool thing to participate in. And kind of from there, worked as a freelancer for about a year in Atlanta, Georgia. And then after about a year doing that, I found a startup in Austin, Texas that I joined and worked at that for about 3 years. About that point, I met Jackie, co-founder for WiGoTrips.
Amazing. And would you say that in terms of all the travel that you've done, because you did mention software, and it sounds like your career so far, that what inspired you was mostly like things falling in place in terms of, you know, your skills and, you know, your work experiences. But how would you say travel itself and like the cultural experiences might have affected, you know, your decision to be in travel?
I would say that maybe the primary driver, yeah. So when I was in high school, or growing up in elementary school, I guess, I was part of a small class. It was 30 kids starting out. And by the time we were in 8th grade, it was about 15 kids. And it was just a small group to have ever interacted with for all that time. When I went to high school, to Topeka High School, there was about 2,000 kids total in the school. And it was just a huge cultural difference for me. After some time, I kind of naturally gravitated toward hanging out with all the foreign exchange students. I just loved hearing the accents and just seeing all the differences that they kind of brought, like from their home countries. And I just enjoyed that. And so I made friends with them all and hung out all the time. And a good friend of mine who also was pretty passionate about space as well, she went to Russia for about a year, came back and could just speak Russian. And I was just floored by that ability. I thought that was the coolest thing. So I kind of was like, at that point, decided to really make getting into global culture part of what I wanted to do with my life. And fast forward, I kind of embodied that with the research I did in the different places.
So that's pretty cool. That was pretty early on in your school, right? I'm trying to get an idea of that timeline because I think it's so interesting when people have stories of like when they, in a sense, made a decision really early on, and then, you know, it ended up working. They ended up working towards that. So, you know, when you mentioned all these moments in school, were they pretty early on in your life?
Yeah, it started early. Definitely one would lead to the next. And once you kind of had one, you didn't really know where that would take you. It was a lot of kind of like listening for the next opportunity, being aware of who you are, what you've become, and what you've gained, and then how you could then creatively apply that to the future. So yeah, when I got to college, I was like, okay, this is a great setting. I'm comfortable with my coursework now. Like, let's see if I can do an exchange program. I was kind of feeling comfortable at that point. So I walked into the exchange student office, just made an appointment without any kind of prior research. I sat down and I was like, all right, I would like to go to Japan. How can I make that happen? I just asked her that.
Wow, that's great.
And she was like, awesome. Yeah, let's take a look at your options. And kind of went from there, found a good program. And I came back from Japan. It was the best year of my life. Met so many people from all over the world, shared so many fun times. It was priceless. And I just, because of that, I was like, all right, I just have to do this again. I got to do this one more time. And at that point, I was between undergrad and looking to apply for grad school, but not really quite sure what I wanted to do. So I ended up taking about a year off. A friend of mine who I'd met in high school, her mom was actually a plasma physicist at the University of Stuttgart in Germany. And so I just kind of like talked with her. She gave me a tour of some of the people that she knew that worked at the university. And I just kind of kept the conversation going and worked out a very tiny funded position for about 6 months. And so I went to Germany after that. And it's really just kind of, you can't predict chain of events that you're going to experience in your life.
Absolutely. I did look on your website, and I'm curious, how do you, as a chief technology officer of WiGo, of a travel company, you know, a tech travel company, define digital nomad?
Oh, yeah. So I kind of like fell in love with the whole digital nomad movement. And if there's anyone that's unfamiliar with it, it's essentially a role that you can have in your career where you can earn money independent from your location. Oftentimes it's with a laptop, headphones, coffee at a coffee shop, so long as there's Wi-Fi available and you can get your job done with just that. That's kind of what is the digital nomad movement. And then there's a lot of people that seek out these kind of roles and positions just so that they can spend different time in different parts of the world, just to see all the different perspectives that are happening all at once. Yeah.
And this just brought up, oh yeah, no, you can finish your thought.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, just ideal for me. I kind of like heard about that at the same time as I was just wanting to travel more. And I was, I could do that with computer science and just connect the three dots.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think we're in such a good time right now for people to have that experience of being able to work from so many different locations because of the internet and everything. And it brought up a question, as you were just mentioning this, since we're talking about groups and you're talking about like work and travel, do you notice like any trends of, I guess, businesses, like entire groups within a business traveling while they're working?
Oh, yeah. So it's more and more, there's distributed like offices and workspaces. So when I was working in Austin, I was just out of coffee shops for most of the time. I met up with this guy named Julio, who was a chief operations officer of a fully remote ad tech company. And he said it was great. They had to be essentially like extra organized, but since they achieved basically the ability to work location independent. And it was fantastic. He says they go from country to country, and then like every 3-4 months or just some period of time, they all get together as a company kind of in one place and have a big gathering and meeting kind of thing. And it was fantastic. And more and more I kind of hear about different companies like pioneering in this new way, because I think it really does attract some pretty good talent too. If you're able to facilitate somebody as comfortably as they want to be, then they're going to perform probably better than they would in an uncomfortable situation. And a lot of times in your own home or where you want to be instead of just a specific office is more comfortable.
Absolutely. And I hear that as being a common trend, that future generations are going to want this extra level of freedom. And just in consideration of that, as the chief technology officer, what do you see are some of the challenges and ways that, a tech company might have to adapt in the future? Other companies are going to have to adapt to compete for talent.
Yeah. So step one is never be satisfied with the current situation. You can make your system a little bit better than it was before. You can, do all things like that, because technology is going to do nothing but keep moving, probably faster than it is as more and more people get into it. So that being said, if you keep up, culture is definitely really important. So for WiGo in particular, since we're kind of like a new travel-based company, I think we have a really good opportunity to launch kind of like a distributed development division kind of culture where people are in it for the long term. There's a lot of developers that kind of come, work for a while, and then kind of want to advance up in their position. But I think since we fully bootstrapped this entire thing, we're in a really good state to continue building it from our own vision from the core participants. And I think that's going to be a really great opportunity.
Fantastic. And you mentioned distributed development culture. I'm unfamiliar with what you meant by that.
Oh, yeah, totally. So
just for the audience, define it.
Yeah. So distributed development culture is just people from different locations, different from each other, working together on a common code base. So one person in California could write a function or a module, and then a person in New York could then take that and add it to like a web app that they're building. And so like through that coordination, you then piece together your total system. And it's really neat. There's some larger companies that essentially have offices throughout the world so that development is continuous, where one office will work for their shift and then hand it off to the next office that is just getting up. And then once they're done, they'll hand it off to the next office over in China maybe, and then they'll hand it off to Europe. And so there's really neat levels of coordination that you can get by coordinating time zones and where people work. And along with that, you're not like physically next to each other, so you can't just go tap someone on the shoulder and say, hey, what is this? Like, can you fix this? You have to have good ways to communicate and share resources. With that, there's a lot of tools available to help. Slack is a really good staple fundamental communication tool. And then there's all sorts of code collaboration tools where one person's code won't step on another person's code unless they approve it. So you definitely have to employ as many of those techniques efficiently as you can.
Since we're talking about working on teams right now and having to have that good communication using tools like Slack. Just wondering, how would you say that transition from, freelancer to CTO, how did that change, or how did you have to adapt to it?
Yeah, so totally, yeah, totally. That is a thing. Because when I started software, I was completely content with just doing like logging on, doing some coding, submitting, and then calling it a day. Like I was good with being told what to do next, and what to expect. And as kind of time went on, like first, I do want to say that no person and no machine and no system is perfect.
Hmm.
And there's a ton of different ways to accomplish and do something. So after about 3 years or so working at a startup, I kind of was getting to the point where I was like, man, I could do this on my own. I get how this works. I get the amount of work that needs to be put in. I get the proactivity that we all need to do. I want to do this on my own kind of thing. And on top of that, there was a lot of confusion within tech leadership. There's different people are saying different things about what the focus should be. And so it's this new, innovative, collaborative discussion that's going on. And I really just wanted to be a part of it. I was like, if I'm going to do something, yeah, this can work. So I decided to, at that point, yeah, just take the path to leadership, which is non-trivial and very hard. So if it's something that you're thinking to do, definitely consider it. The world needs more good leaders. So put in the time, do research. Like, don't just jump into something right away. See, like, if it's really the right fit, if it's what you're passionate about in the mid to long term, if it can be built upon something you already know, that's always all the better. All those things considered.
Right on. I like that message of how you were saying that when you realized that you wanted to be a leader in industry, you went ahead and got it because you saw some gaps that were happening or different leadership perspectives and whatnot. So
yeah, and that's totally true because like the world is not going to open up a leadership position for you. That's kind of not how it works. Like a leader is there to open up a position and maybe even for others too. So it's definitely something you got to kind of seek out and do on your own energy.
right on. And with your current work at WiGo, just out of curiosity, like what are being in tech and everything, and as the company continues to grow, where do you see biggest changes happening?
In terms of the company structure or kind of organization or operation?
I mean, as it
Or just kind of in
grows
general?
and more people adopt it, what do you see are some of the major changes happening?
Like anything, when it starts from like a seed into a small plant, as it grows into the bigger tree forest that it might become, yeah, it definitely will change throughout that process. Right now, there's just two of us mainly, me and Jackie McCarthy. And Jackie handles a lot of the business, finance. She's the visionary, the creative, the designer, basically. And I have come in as kind of the pure like tech solution. So right now, we've got this really cool organic duality between us where she does the designs and I implement them. And we both work as public faces of the company in different sorts. But yeah, so then as we expand and grow, we're going to be bringing on additional people. Different perspectives will be added with different professional skills too. So yeah, it won't be quite the personal experience. And you'll have to start trying to coordinate the voice of many instead of just a few people. And that's always a different kind of exercise. Then yeah, you keep on growing and you go from 10-person office to like a 30 to like 100, and you creep toward being standard corporate atmosphere, and that has its own subcultures amongst it. I do foresee it changing, but since we kind of bootstrapped the whole thing and really have kept it really tight with its original vision, I really see it being a cool place for a lot of people to work and collaborate, and we can build a really cool product.
I like that you're still maintaining that perspective on people and how as it grows, you have to be considerate of how that's going to affect the business. That's awesome. What did you take away from, being that technical person working at an aerospace company to a position that you're working on today?
There's a lot of useful things you can take from engineering and aerospace in general. So the aerospace industry it's been around for a while, you could say. And so there's a lot of data, a lot of research that you can always dwell upon and look at and read to determine all sorts of things. And so with that, there's all sorts of standardization and methods to keep that kind of documentation. And that's kind of one thing I noticed. The first startup I joined was that not much was documented at the end of the day. And it really makes a big difference. If you can write down processes, you can upgrade them. You can look at them, find out what's going on. If you write down documentation of your systems, another engineer can come in really quick and easily and make a difference. So yeah, definitely kind of documentation is a big thing, I would say. Beyond that, just general problem solving, being able to take a problem, parsing it down into what the actual problem is. Like you hear something, okay, what does that actually mean? And then going from there to hypothesize some different solutions, put stuff in place to test them, assess them. Essentially just bringing the whole scientific method into business ends up being really effective at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And the documentation aspect of it, I think that's even popular now with influencers. Gary Vaynerchuk, who says, as you're building your career, whether it's on social media or whatever, to document things that you do. Would you say that that sort of philosophy is similar to what you're talking about, or is it?
Yeah, it's similar. What I was talking about was more just technical documentation, like blogging, journaling, recording your own life as you go through your journey is definitely important as well. It helps you kind of track where you've been and how you've grown. And at the same time, it builds a new age story for the next generation. So when there's younger kids that are like deciding what to do next, they have these blogs, these journals, these stories of people right now on the frontier developing, growing themselves. These kids get to see that now as an example, and we can use that in their own journey too. So yeah, definitely it's really important to share as many good ideas that you think would be useful as you can.
Certainly. And going back to WiGoTrips, as someone who hasn't traveled much myself, out of curiosity, how would you advise someone who's like, okay, I want to get a group of people together. I don't even know where to begin. Do I buy multiple plane tickets, or do I just hit up WiGo? Like, how does the process work?
Right now, it's really complicated. It's all the things you said. It's like, what plane tickets do I buy? Who do I talk to? Who's going to collect some money? Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Even if someone on your group wants to sleep in all the time and everyone else wants to get up early, that's kind of a mismatch.
Right.
So like with all that, these are the direct problems that we hope to solve. We have what we call a bucket list feature, which we're going to be releasing soon, where once you log in, register, and become a member, you can just list all the different sorts of trips you'd love to take in your lifetime. And we'll use that information to then anonymously give to everyone like organizing trips in our platform so that they can really pinpoint where people want to go and where they've said they wanted to go too. So along with that, we allow you to search for other members based on a travel style algorithm, which is something that we've come up with, mainly Jackie actually. So what that is basically like a 25 or 26 question survey about your different travel dimensions. So if you like to go out and party or not go party, sleep in, get up early, maybe go exercising or just completely avoid exercising, all these different things, you get to search and discover other members of the platform based on these parameters. And so hopefully with all these new tools, we can collaborate and organize groups that really have a good time together.
Oh, that's so cool. So it was like it's like a personality assessment for travel. Is that?
Yeah. So it's super similar to a dating app, except instead of trying to find a relationship, you're trying to find travel companions. It's a little bit just for fun, really, instead of to find like a serious relationship.
So interesting, because when I was looking at WiGo, the website, and I was looking through it, I had originally thought it was just to plan trips within your own circle or group. But it sounds like, and definitely correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like it's more for connecting with new people while also traveling within groups of those people. Is that right?
So you're 100% correct on both ends. We definitely facilitate travel amongst the people that you know, like your friends and family that you already have. You can list a private trip within WiGo and then use our platform as a centralized payment option as something useful. Or you can go ahead and list a public trip after going through a couple of security measures and background checks, and then try to attract others to join it. And the cool thing is when somebody joins one of your trips, all the money that they pay to join goes directly to you, except for a small fee that we collect as a platform provider. So it's kind of a way to earn money leading cool group trip experiences.
Wow. So in a sense, where Airbnb is for people who have that extra capacity to lend their house, is WeGrow like in a way for people who want to give tours to possibly leverage their excess capacity? Is that a mistake?
Yeah, no, completely. Same way as if you've got some extra time for your house, you can rent it out. If you've got a free weekend, you can meet a group of people in Paris, show them around, have a great time, and some money for it.
That sounds fantastic. Totally looking forward to hearing more about that as it continues to develop and expand. Congrats on joining and teaming up with Jackie. That's great.
It's been cool. And I was kind of blown away at the whole proposal. I was like, the moment she was telling me all about it, like I was like, wow, this just sounds really great. It's less complicated than a lot of business things these days. It's like everyone's trying to get these niches and the ad tech industry, crypto, everything. This is more just humans selling their experience to other humans. Just back to the service is kind of how I felt about it.
Yeah, and by the way, do you have time for maybe one or two more questions, or when you're in the?
Oh yeah, totally.
Awesome, cool. We're talking about the technology and talked about the business. What are some of your tips to find the right business partner? How do you know when that opportunity is right? For example, WiGo. How did you know that Jackie was the right person for you to team up with and grow WiGo with?
That's a very good question. The one thing you got to know is that every contract agreement that you sign has two parts. Specifics about what's on the pieces of paper that are by law and the person that you're making a deal with. If you don't trust the paper and the person besides the paper, then you're kind of walking into a good amount of risk. So the first off is know the person as well as you can before getting into any kind of business arrangement. Other than that, before even considering somebody, set your own personal standard. Decide who you want to work with, why you want to work with them, what you're going to bring to the table, because they're going to be critical too. And if you can define who you are and what you want as clearly as you can have discussions with people doing kind of similar things. And then if you can come up with a good arrangement, take the next step forward. That being said, always leave yourself a way to exit. That's important and healthy too. Don't ever make yourself feel trapped in any situation. Your goal is not to become like a crazy cog in a machine. Your goal is to live your life and hopefully achieve something through collaboration. And the way the world is, it takes structure, and that's what these legal systems and contracts and bindings all are. So really just think it through, make sure you're bringing value to the table, and keep your standards high too.
Awesome. And my favorite part was that whole idea of making sure you set your standards and having that, I guess, value alignment in a way. I like that message.
Yeah.
And
there's all these people that talk about finding co-founders on Craigslist and things like that, or at the bar one night. Just don't even do that, man. You're just walking into a trap. It could be. And there's stories where it works out. All the power to those guys. But might as well set yourself up for success the best you can.
And that really helps to clarify. It's absolutely amazing. Like the whole idea that can leverage the excess capacity of people that are doing tours and great guys. That just blew my mind.
It's neat. Like you don't even need to travel either. Like if you're just a local in your town and you love it, you just want to show people where you already live, you can invite people to come to you as a WiGo trip as well.
What do you mean?
For example, in Austin, when I was living there, I got to know all the cool coffee shops, the cool spots on the river and creeks you can jump in, cool places for barbecues. Even though I wouldn't need to essentially buy a plane ticket to go anywhere, I could invite people to Austin to have a good time based on what I know about the city. So if you're just a local somewhere, you can even use your house as the accommodation option for the WiGo trip and just try to save money and add value in cool, creative ways.
Okay. One final question. Do you have any advice for anyone who wants to work at a startup or anybody who would love to be a co-founder at a company, how to prepare for their first big meeting?
Yeah, your first meeting, you're not going to be ready. You're just not going to have the natural experience to understand that it's going to be okay. Because it is going to be okay. Just go at it the best you can, prepare for it, and execute. And learn from every single thing that happens from that moment on. If you stumble the entire time and it's awkward and everyone is looking at you, that's totally fine. The next time, try to do that maybe a little bit less. Because one thing that is definitely true is that in a lot of ways, every single person is worried about their life kind of as well as other things. So everyone in that room, even though they might not be stumbling on things, they've got their own worries and things too. And they've all been there. So a lot of times you'll find that people are pretty sympathetic and understanding, more so than you might assume.
That's really interesting because I read a lot of sales books, and there's one book called Pitch Anything. And when you think about some of these meetings, think of incredibly high powered people, and they got to maintain their side, and they want to win, and then the other side wants to win. But I really like how you shared that element. There are people out there, there are leaders out there, there are business people out there who do care about the person, the human aspect of it, and they can be forgiving in ways. So I like that.
Yeah. And every chance that you find those kind of people, stick with them, because the more allies you can make, the better. And the more that kind of everyone's friendly with each other, all the better too.
Wonderful. And thanks so much. So for WiGoTrips, that is WIG or WIGOTRIPS.com. And everybody check that out. And Adam, do you have anything to wrap up?
No, I think that's it. If anyone is interested in group trips, group travel, maybe not sure about where to start, yeah, check us out. We're just getting started. We've got about 60 or 70 or so trips in the app. But yeah, we're looking to add more. So if you've got any cool creative ideas, ways to partner maybe, yeah, definitely reach out.
Awesome. And you said you've got about 60 trips. What would you say are like the top 3 ideas for anyone who's like, okay, I got to take a trip, but I don't know what. I'm just going to go on WiGo and check this out.
Oh yeah. So one that I'm really excited for is we are just now planning a series of trips to the 2020 Tokyo Olympics.
Wow,
that's something I've always wanted to do. So yeah, we're going to put together some excursions and hotel packages for that. Hopefully get those listed pretty soon. Besides that, we are focusing a lot on events. So things that people already kind of want to go to, we're going to build cool accommodations and excursions around those. So if you have any event that you'd like to go to, but maybe you don't know anyone else going, yeah, check us out. Send us some suggestions too.
Fantastic. And 2020 Tokyo, that sounds fantastic. Oh man, just a year away.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Thanks so much. And again, that's WiGoTrips. That's WiGoTrips.com. Thanks so much again for your time to join me on this podcast and share so much great advice, so much wisdom about your experiences in tech and everything, and about WiGoTrips. It sounds like it's amazing. Have a great day, everybody.
You as well. Thanks for taking the time too.